At the beginning of the month of May, the stock markets around the world saw large losses, and MicroStrategy stock was not an exception. The value of MSTR has decreased by 24% over the past week, and the value of Bitcoin has also decreased dramatically over the same time period. The cryptocurrency market has had a difficult week. In March 2022, MicroStrategy obtained a loan from Silvergate Bank in the amount of $205 million. As collateral for the loan, MicroStrategy pledged a portion of MicroStrategy's Bitcoin holdings. This should serve as a source of concern. After that, it was put to use to advance the Bitcoin acquisition strategy that MicroStrategy had been working on. According to Forbes, Michael Saylor's net worth dropped below $1 billion on May 11, 2022, after reaching a high of $1.6 billion at the beginning of March. Saylor's wealth has fluctuated significantly over the past several months. During the recent downturn in the market, he has a substantial proportion of his money invested in MicroStrategy stock in Bitcoin to assets that have experienced a loss in value. Michael Saylor was one of the co-founders of MicroStrategy in 1989, and the company's stock has dropped by 61% in the past month. This includes a drop of almost 30% a few days ago. The value of one Bitcoin has decreased by 38% over the course of the past month and a half. Over the course of times since then, its value on the market has decreased by more than $300 billion. One of the few companies to do so, MicroStrategy has placed a wager on the digital currency Bitcoin. The chief executive officer of a software company that does not offer any services related to the cryptocurrency industry has given the company direction to invest more than $4.5 billion in Bitcoin. MicroStrategy had a total of 129,218 Bitcoins in its hands as of the 31st of March. That huge investment is all of a sudden in the red. When MicroStrategy purchased Bitcoin from them, the transaction cost them an average of $30,700 per token. Approximately $29,925 was being asked for it at that time. In a recent interview that was published on Natalie Brunell's YouTube channel, it seems as though he was just as confident as he always is. According to him, Cathie Wood's prediction that $1 million would be worth in Bitcoin represented an unduly optimistic outlook. Welcome to Smart Stock Academy, where you'll discover videos about businesses and insights from your prominent CEOs. Thank you for joining us for today's video, and let's explore topics that will awaken your curiosity when it comes to stocks and investments. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell to assure you that you'll be updated whenever we upload videos.
How do we get there? For those out there who are really shaking with these prices right now, how do we get to a $1 million Bitcoin by 2030? Do you think that's possible as well?
When she said that, I thought she's so conservative. Like, I can't believe she said just $1 million in front of this audience. But that was just my reaction. It's kind of interesting. Other people have different reactions.
Do you think more than $1 million US by 2030?
I wouldn't put a date on it.
Okay.
But I think it's worth more than $1 million. I think that the next steps are pretty clear. My checklist would be the administration recognizes Bitcoin, check, that happened in March. Mm-hmm. The Treasury, accepts it, check, that happened in April. So we've already got the administration that recognizes a need to support the digital asset economy, and they recognize that Bitcoin is an asset class. I think the SEC approving a spot ETF will be an important milestone. I feel like we're moving toward that with this GBTC process.
Yeah.
So I would be disappointed if it isn't approved, but I'm certain, reasonably certain, we'll get a spot ETF sometime in the next 36 months. I can't imagine that we won't, and maybe we'll get one within the next 12 months. I would say it's more than 50% likely in the next 12 months, and it's 90% likely, I think, in the next 36 months. I think clear guidance on stable coins is another important thing. When Senator Toomey was speaking to Janet Yellen yesterday, he brought this up and he said, can we get legislation this year? And she said, I would think so. I would think we should. So there's agreement between the administration, and that's a Democrat administration, and a Republican senator, right? So the Republicans would like this, the Democrats would like this. So I think that kind of guidance is important because there's a massive demand for digital currencies in the form of stablecoin. And yet the uncertainty, the fact that the currencies are currently being delivered in the form of stablecoins, which are unregistered securities, which are unlicensed, which are in a regulatory gray zone, right? Kind of, it has the industry twisting in the wind because really big banks can't get it. They can't issue. None of the banks can issue, even though the world wants $1 trillion worth of digital currency, right? So resolving that will create a big on-ramp for capital into the digital economy. And ultimately that on-ramp in the capital means, imagine if I had $500 billion of USD stablecoin, and then it was sitting with a secure counterparty that I trusted. And now I could move it via Lightning on Taro, right? Right. You really could have 6 billion people with a mobile phone moving millions of transactions a day, maybe tens or hundreds of millions of transactions a day, paying for everything. You see a massive avalanche, a conversion of all the weak currencies to the dollar. You see digital dollars become the medium of exchange everywhere in the world, moving on Lightning rails, which would be incredibly good for Bitcoin, incredibly good for the entire crypto economy. So I think that the stable coins maturing is a big deal. I think that the FDIC, when they provide guidance to banks that allow banks to either custody Bitcoin or take Bitcoin as collateral against loans, I think a bank would probably they can't really use Bitcoin as part of their asset package, or have to be reserved for 1-to-1. Whereas, the dollar is reserved for at 5%, or sometimes it's zero. Like a bank could issue $100 billion of loans for zero reserve. And then when they're, at some point, they could take $5 billion of US treasuries and issue $100 billion in debt against it. So I think the FDIC has a very important lever in the way that in the guidance they give for Bitcoin as an asset. And I think that the other big news that happened, it's happening right in front of us, Natalie. The sound and the fury causes people to miss these things that really matter. Yesterday, when the Secretary of the Treasury said we need to get this done this year and said it in the Senate, that was a big deal. And this morning, FASB met and voted 7-0 in their meeting to create a formal project to review accounting for digital assets, which means Bitcoin. And right now the accounting is toxic and prejudicial. So there's pretty much no outcome that I could imagine that wouldn't be beneficial or better than the current status quo from a GAAP accounting point of view. So FASB, FDIC, Treasury, White House, SEC, all of these things they're all gating items for institutional adoption of an asset class. And all of them are in motion right now. And even the negative things, like you can look at the market and all the trading down. I don't think it's necessarily negative. I think you have a lot of liquidity or a lot of leverage shaken out of the system. Everyone that doesn't know the difference between Bitcoin and every other altcoin it now has an interesting example of the difference between Bitcoin and Luna, right? They understand the difference, at least figuratively understand the difference. The regulators are now going to have a catalyst to move faster, right? Because now, Gensler said, someone's going to get hurt if we don't fix this. And the congressional view 3 months ago was, no, don't do anything. Don't move too fast because you might mess up the market. And Gensler said, well, a lot of these exchanges are trading security tokens and we don't know what they're backed by. And when they crash, someone's going to lose a lot of money. Now I think the political sentiment will shift to, okay, we understand why you think we should regulate this, right? We understand why the administration thinks this needs to be brought into the public policy framework. I think this will bring the Democrats and the Republicans together. And I think this will bring the Congress together with the administration. I already think we know where their sentiments are. They want safe, transparent, well-backed stablecoins. They think Bitcoin is digital property. They think that some of the other security tokens ought to be treated as securities with some disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they think.
Which is the most accurate prediction for you? The prediction of Cathie Wood or the projection of Michael Saylor? That's it for today's video. Let us know what you think and leave it in the comment section so we'll know what your insights are. Again, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more updated videos about the business world.